Welcome to Gut Tales. I'm Emma, and today we are going to talk about how to talk about your IBD diagnoses, whether you are newly diagnosed or whether you've had IBD for over 30 years. Sometimes the diagnosis itself can feel overwhelming, and sometimes we may feel embarrassed. I've never been quite modest, so I wasn't necessarily embarrassed by my symptoms, but I know that it can be overwhelming and embarrassing for some people. And so the biggest thing I want to stress is that you don't need to be embarrassed with the symptoms of the disease or embarrassed with your diagnoses. Unfortunately, there have been some patients who have passed away because they were so overwhelmed by their symptoms, they didn't tell anybody. And if the disease is left to its natural organic process without medical intervention, you may die due to severe malnourishment, due to several different things. And sadly, this has happened to some patients. And for me, it is so heartbreaking to hear this because I know what it feels like to get diagnosed. You feel alone. You are scared. You may not understand what is going on. And sometimes it can feel like you cannot eat or drink anything because sometimes whatever you put in your mouth, even if it's water, it could result in you having to run to the bathroom. I know, I've been there. And so what can we do? One, we have to realize that we're not alone. There are so many other IBD patients worldwide that are with us. And so find a support group. Find a group of friends that you trust and reach out to them. If you can, talk to your family about it, if you feel like they give you support, right? But if you don't know how to talk about the disease, just start with, I feel really tired, or whatever symptom you have. And you don't necessarily have to tell people, well, I have 18 to 20 bloody bowel movements. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But if you can start talking about it a little bit, you may find that you get support in places you never realized you would have. What I used to say when people would ask me, because I was diagnosed in 2006, nobody really knew what inflammatory bowel disease was then. There weren't drug commercials about it. I think roughly a year to a year and a half after my diagnosis, the first Remicade commercial was on TV. I'll never forget my college roommate calling me and saying, hey, I saw a commercial about Remicade. And they said, if you have, inflammatory bowel disease. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Because really nobody talked about it. And many people hadn't heard of it. But as gut tailors, which I think of you all as gut tailors, we tell tales of our guts, right? We empower each other and, educate the public by talking about our diseases because you know what? It's important and we are not alone. But if we don't say anything, if we don't talk to others about it, we may feel like we're overwhelmed and we're alone. And I will tell you, it's better to feel overwhelmed and have support than to feel overwhelmed and not have support. Trust me, I've been there. But what I used to tell people when I was first diagnosed, and they would say, well, why aren't you working? And I said, well, I actually lost my job due to my inflammatory bowel disease diagnoses. And they were like, what's that? And I'm like, well, there are two main types. There are nuanced types, but there are two main types, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and they're like, well, what's that? And I'm like, well, sometimes I shit blood 10 to 18 times a day, depending on the day. Sometimes I can't put anything in my mouth. Sometimes I have to starve myself just to go to the freaking grocery store because if I eat something, I may have an accident. Should you describe it that way? It's up to you. For me, that was my experience. I was comfortable talking about it because that was my truth. And those were the hardest symptoms for me. Yes, it was hard for my body to be fatigued all the time. It was hard for me to feel like my entire life was taken away and, from one day to the next. I had worked hard to get through college. I felt like I was set up in my life. I had just got married. I thought, this is great. This is going exactly how I thought it would. I've worked so hard for this. And then one day I woke up and I started pooping blood. And I thought, that's really strange. But, you fast forward several weeks from there, I had dropped 15 pounds. I was severely malnourished and I was really, really sick. And, I didn't prepare for that. I didn't even know what inflammatory bowel disease was. When I was diagnosed, I didn't even know it was a chronic illness that was going to come and go. I had no idea. I thought it was like the flu or a cold or something you could just take medicine for and then it would go away and then, okay, that's it. I'm going to go about my life. But no, my life changed overnight. And it was overwhelming, and I got very depressed and I became a recluse. I didn't answer phone calls. I didn't go anywhere. I was really depressed. And I will never forget my college roommate. She tried to call me. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was really overwhelmed. So she showed up at my door and she brought me my favorite cereal, which is Captain Crunch. And I was like, wow, you really care, and so then I opened up more about it. But now that I've had IBD for over 18 years, I've realized the extreme importance of talking about it so you don't feel alone, because you're not alone, and the more you talk about it and the more you talk about your own individual symptoms, hopefully those around you will realize, oh, wow, okay, because inflammatory bowel disease is an autoimmune disease, sometimes people can look at you. I mean, you're going to love this one. They'll look at you and be like, huh, you don't look sick. And I was like, oh, wow, thanks. I just literally had to starve myself all day just so I could come to this work event for my husband to show him that I support him, but I am miserable. I have a migraine. I'm hoping I don't have an accident. And I feel like I'm going to pass out right now. But thank you. Thank you for telling me I don't look sick. So I get it, right? And so when you tell them, oh, great, well, I'm glad I don't look sick to you. It's crazy that I just shit blood 18 times today. Is that allowed? I don't care. It's the truth, right? And so you have to do what you're comfortable with. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you feel comfortable, blog about it. Start a blog online. Direct your family and friends towards it. If you feel like they don't understand you or they don't understand your symptoms or they think you're being a drama king or queen, which I know you're not, trust me. I've been there. But if they're not understanding and they're making you feel bad about your disease, one, you could stop talking to them. That is okay. Just because they are your family or they are your friends doesn't mean you have to talk to them. If they are not supporting you in your IBD journey, you can drop them like a 10-ton rock, because just because you were friends with somebody before doesn't mean you still have to continue to be friends with them. I did lose some friends after I was diagnosed with IBD. I literally had somebody who I thought was a close friend of mine tell me, you're no fun anymore, because I didn't want to go out and in public. I didn't really feel like the nightlife scene, even though I was just, 23, 24. And I was like, wow, you're kind of an asshole. But I realized, okay, you know what? You were my friend at one time, but you are no longer in my friend's circle. And that is okay, because you have to take care of you. But if you feel comfortable blogging, you can direct friends and family towards it. So maybe they have a better understanding of what day-to-day life is for you. That may be helpful. But if you can get into a support group, I know the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has support groups across the United States. And if you're in other countries, I know other countries also have their own Crohn's, type of Crohn's and colitis support groups there. I mean, it's important. It's important to find support so you're not alone. And I want you to know you're not alone. I'm here for you. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, or if you want to share your story, reach out to me. I read my messages. I read my comments. I would be happy to interact. But what's most important is that you are not embarrassed by your symptoms. You did not choose to get inflammatory bowel disease. There is nothing you did that caused your inflammatory bowel disease. You are not responsible for your disease. One day, your body just decided to attack itself. And scientists are trying to figure out what the cause is of inflammatory bowel disease. It is multifactorial, meaning there is more than one cause or reason why people may get diagnosed, but they don't know that yet. They don't know what it is, but at least they are researching it, which is important. And so know that you're not alone. And I highly encourage you to join the Gut Tails movement. That's what we're calling it right now, the Gut Tails movement, where we tell tales from our guts, because you know what? It's important not only to feel empowered ourselves and not only to help our fellow IBDers who may not feel confident, which is okay, because it's a lot and it's overwhelming. If you don't want to talk about your symptoms, it's okay. You don't have to. But maybe hearing others talk about their symptoms may help you do so, or just journal it out. Journal it out and get it all out on paper. All of your feelings that are inside that you don't want to share with anybody, which is okay if you don't want to share, just get it all out on paper. Get it out of your body and onto the paper and see how much better you feel. And also find your tribe. Find your support group, and you don't have to be friends with people who won't support you. Even if you thought you were going to be best friends for life, which I thought that, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And you know what? That's okay. It is okay. So know that I'm here for you. Please reach out if you need anything, and I look forward to connecting with you all again soon.